And it's time for us to have a conversation about taxes. And this morning on the Tax Dialogue segment, what we're talking about supporting families through tax reliefs. I've been joined by Dr. Alex Ampaabeng, who is with Oxfam, and then also his name is just, I missed his name. Geoffrey Ocansey, that's his name. Geoffrey Ocansey of the Tax Justice Coalition. They're going to help us to understand what are tax reliefs and how are these being played out within our setting, and then help us to have a good understanding of this. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
How are you all doing?
How
have you been?
We're keeping good.
Yeah? New Year treating you well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a beautiful year.
Okay, super. So tax reliefs. First of all, help us to understand, for those who are watching us and don't understand necessarily what reliefs are. What are reliefs and why are they important? And then explain to us.
Okay, thanks. Yes, so the tax reliefs, as the name goes, a relief. It's an amount an individual taxpayer, and that's a key word. An individual taxpayer is entitled, if he qualifies and meet those qualifying criteria, the individual is entitled, and it kind of helps reduce the tax liability. The purpose is a kind of an inequality gap bridging initiative. Okay. So we kind of bring the reliefs in order to support the poor or those who are marginalized. There are a variety of them. Which one will qualify depends on what situation you are in. But I think I have to say a big thank you to the government on this. We all know how bad the relief was. Initially, the highest relief until actually January this year, the highest relief was 400 Ghana. That was the highest somebody could claim in the form of those reliefs. Okay. But as we speak, the highest relief is now 2,000 Ghana a year. Okay. And there are varieties of reliefs. So depending on if a person qualifies or not, somebody might actually be entitled to up to 7,000 a year on top of your annual personal allowance or the personal relief. Okay. So
explain to us how does this actually work? How does one get their relief or claim their relief?
Okay. I think probably before we talk of how one gets, it's important perhaps to look at what they are in terms of...
Yes.
Yeah, because I think that should be the starting point. Yes. Yes. We have the spouse dependent or dependent spouse or dependent children relief. And that one is, if you're a married couple, you have your spouse who is dependent on you financially for their basic necessities, then you are entitled to 1,200 a year. If you're not married, but then you have 2 dependent children, then you are still entitled, even though it's spouse, but it's called spouse and dependent reliefs, dependent children relief. So that's the first one. Okay. And then we have old-aged relief. Somebody might be about 60 years, and it's only for those who are 60 years and above. If you're 60 years and over, and you gain income through work or employment or business, and you pay taxes, then you are also entitled to 1,500 a year. That's the second. And then we have the third one, which is education, children education relief. That one is for any taxpayer that has a child or a ward in school, in full-time education. That one too is a very wonderful thing. You can actually claim for 3 children. So if you have 3 kids, each child is entitled to 600 Ghana. Okay. So with the 3 children, you're actually looking at 1,800 Ghana a year. But the condition is the child should be in a full-time education. But it doesn't matter what level, from kindergarten to university. Okay. You qualify.
So these reliefs are given to the ward?
No, it's given to you, the taxpayer. Because you are the one who the child is depending on you.
Yes, so that's the ward of the children.
Exactly. So you, the adult taxpayer, qualifies. But for you to qualify, you should have a child you're taking care of. Yes. In educational establishment. And then one of the most important one in our context is the old dependence reliefs. Normally, you go to our culture, our system. We don't have any support from the government. If you're taking care of your father, your mother, your uncle, or other relatives, there is a possibility for taxpayer to claim 1,000 Ghana a year.
Okay.
If you have an adult relative who is dependent on you, and you can claim up to 2 adults. So if you have 2 relatives living with you or you're taking care of them, you can claim. So if you look at all this relief from the age, the dependent children, the spouse one, education, put them all together, you're actually looking at a very reasonable amount here. And on top, if you are the same, I'm taking here a scenario as one taxpayer who qualifies for all this, and it's possible. If you're also in working, paying tax, and then you're doing some professional course or training to update an existing skills, and that's the key word. You're actually updating, not to gain a new skills. You're studying to update existing skills. That one also you're entitled to 2,000 Ghana. So if you put all together, that's roughly somebody who has a wife who is not working or a husband who is not working, has 3 children at school, have 2 adult dependents, and doing professional course. If you take all these 5 boxes and you claim them individually, you're actually looking for about 7,000 a year, coming to 600 Ghana a month as a tax relief for you. This is a huge, significant step, and I think, as I said earlier, we have to commend the government for this bold initiative, especially in the midst of difficulty in raising DRM. Yeah. Now, so back to how to claim. First, there's a form you need to fill. You need to go to the Ghana Revenue Authority to fill the form. Once you fill the form, you submit the form to your nearby GRA to be forwarded to the Commissioner General. There are some instances where we need to provide some documentary evidence, but all these details will be communicated to you. But marriage certificates, child certificates, educational admission letters if you're studying, and all those will be required to submit. So once you finish the form with the required evidence, submit to your nearby GRA office where you require the form to be forwarded to the GRA. The Commissioner General will now take time to assess the situation, and if you do qualify, they will now issue you with the relief card or a relief notice. You now take it to your employer. So every month, that forms part of your total tax exempt amount. So every month, that money is taken off your salary before you get paid taxes. So to me, it's a wonderful thing.
I don't understand that last bit. You say every month that amount gets taken off your salary.
Yes, your gross. Okay, let me put it that way. I think probably I was too technical there. You have your tax-free amount. The amount of tax you pay first takes into account how much of tax-free you're entitled. Okay. So for this year, the average taxpayer or everybody is entitled to 3,828 a year. So imagine you went through the assessment and then you qualify for all the reliefs I mentioned, or 1 or 2 of them. Yeah. Those ones will be split into 12 months. Okay. Advantage is that these ones have upfront deductions. Normally, most reliefs you have here tend to be after the year end. But for all the reliefs I mentioned, they have upfront deduction possibilities. So it's important you take advantage as you go along. Okay, so let's make it a little easier for our viewers to understand. So somebody earns 5,000 cedis a month. They have all these reliefs that you mentioned. Yeah. How does it work? What would they have at the end of the day? Okay. So, for the example I gave, the individual is entitled to 600 Ghana as a tax relief. Okay. On top of that, the individual is also entitled to an amount of 319 personal allowance. Okay. When so you say 600 as a tax relief, you are saying that 600 Ghana cedis of his money will not be touched. Correct. That's what you're saying. Correct. Okay. Continue. So you take that, so you have that 600 in the form of all the reliefs. Then you have 319, which is your personal relief, which everyone gets. So you add the 600 to the 319. Yeah. That gives you 919. So if you are earning 5,000 a year in a month, in your example, that 9,000 916
yes.
is taken off.
Okay.
Now you're left with 4,000 something. That's the amount that will be subject to tax. That's what it means.
Okay. Okay.
And to me, it's a huge opportunity. And if you're listening and you do qualify for any of those, take advantage of it now. It's never happened before. I mean, take 200, 100 Ghana, what do you do with it?
Yeah.
But if you have a child and you're getting 600 a year, or you have a mother or a father or a relative, and you're getting 1,000 a year, I think to me it's reasonable, and it's something people should take note. Also, if you're disabled, and social welfare, the department have assessed and approved that you're a disabled person, you're also entitled to, on top of all this, if you do qualify, you're also entitled to a further 25% of your assessable tax for the period.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds. I think for us as lay people, it sounds like a lot of information to take in, but I think it makes sense that a certain chunk of my money is not taxable.
Exactly. Comes to your pocket directly.
Yes, it comes to my pocket directly. You know, government cannot touch that bit. Okay. Geoffrey.
Yeah.
You're going to say something.
Yeah, well, before I jump into this one, first of all, because of the good work we've been doing with our tax forums, we traveled around the regions, and Citi, Oxfam, we've done a few regions, and it's been impressive. One of the information we got from Ho actually played into what happened in Ho West yesterday. And sadly, I must say, I'm saddened by the occurrence, you know. I mean, why should we lose a life, you know? I'm not going to jump into right or wrong, but I'm saying, why should we lose a human life because of a collection of taxes? I mean, someone stipulates an amount of 25 Ghana cedis for which we've lost a human being. I think if you go into this matter very carefully, you realize that people are mistaking the tax force. It was not the GRA tax force, it's actually the Assembly tax force. But they both are working, collecting revenue for the government. That's how come people have actually conflicted the two parties. But also, when we met in that forum, we actually were dealing with the GRA and this issue of using that approach of locking shops with that, machoism also came up, you know. So yesterday what happened could have been avoided if we did a lot of tax communication, which we have been actually touching on every time. And then we also thought that supposedly when they went, I mean, they actually located the man. They know where he's located. So if there was a need to punish him, the punitive measure, we thought, I mean, clearly, I mean, if they've improved collection processes, and if you look at what the minister himself read in the budget, the approach that they were going to use, they said it was going to be a customer-centered approach. And if you were using a customer-centered approach, that would be to lure people, to chat with people about it. Even when it gets to the last level of punitive measure, was it proper to actually use that amount of force? And then also, if a lot of education was done, I mean, the punitive measure and then the appeal systems, if they were working, if even my shop was locked with force, and I believed in the appeal system, I would have maybe gone straight to the office, assembly office, and reported. So on both sides of a coin, you see that there's been some unfortunate incident. I think we need to all set up as a country and look at tax collection very well. I mean, moving forward into what we are discussing today about the reliefs, I think progressively we're moving towards what every day we say on this platform, that our taxes should be progressive rather than being regressive. I mean, when you look at the two groups, I mean, this efforts that he's explained right now are all targeted towards, I mean, bridging that gap, you know, the social gap that has been created. If you allow those social gaps to be created, I mean, you'll be seeing a wider gap between the rich and the poor. What would happen? Social disorder, you know, so people would think of cutting ways to be rich, and then that would bring up a heightened cases of robbery and all those things on the street. I'm not justifying robbery. I'm saying when people are hungry, a hungry man is an angry man.
True.
In that society, you would get people doing some of these things, and then unfortunately it will affect society back again. Well, if you look at what he said rightly, now when you go down, further down, I mean, those who are earning between some gap range, I mean, between 0 cedis and 382, you know, they were actually 0% tax, you know, for them. You know, of course, I mean, of course, we are living way below the minimum wage. And clearly, this is what we've been saying. I recently heard from the man himself, Bill Gates, the richest man in the world, saying that, I mean, because of regressive taxes, some of them are getting richer and richer. Because, I mean, this is an honest man speaking. I mean, I was so humbled when he said that, because he clearly was saying, look, I'm getting more richer because of the tax systems. They are actually making me more rich. I mean, so if you put these systems in place, like Doctor, in the layman's understanding, Doctor is saying that if you were making 10,000 cedis or 5,000 or 3,000 cedis, everybody else, per what you are earning, you should be paying taxes according to what you are earning. I mean, rich pay more, and then the poor should pay less. Not because we think the riches, they are like cows, we should milk them. But we're saying, I mean, who is more placed to pay? You know, so this is what we are doing, so that we don't end up impoverishing people who are living on very meager wages. And by so doing, we said, if you are making 2,000 cedis, and you fall within all these brackets, you are a person who is married, you have responsibilities, you know. So if you are within the old age relief bracket, you also should receive something. You have children you are educating. And when we come to that side, I mean, honesty must prevail. I mean, there are people who actually have children of their own. In our kind of social net system, people don't only have their children living with them. I mean, your brother's child or your late brother's son could be living with you. You just need to show proof of that, you know, and then that will qualify you to receive that one. That one about the aged dependent one, they actually have to be a relative anyway, so that you don't get people just going to pick some old man living 3 doors away and then telling us that they are aged relative depending on them. So, you know, in all this, we as advocates, we're fighting for these things because we thought it will bridge, you know, that social and economic gap, you know. But as we do that, we also preach honesty and documentation to prove that. You were asking, how do you assess it? Like my brother rightly said, you have to keep proper books of accounts. Some of these payments have receipts, you know, so if you've paid a child's school fees, you have receipts for them. You know, if you were going through some expenditures and that was as a result of your responsibilities in the home, strive and move a step further and get receipts for these ones, because in all this, like he rightly said, you will fill a form. If you attach receipts to these forms, I mean, it makes processes very, very fast. And by that doing, you would be able to assess some of these reliefs that are available. So it's actually calculated on the amount that you earn, your income that you've earned. If you earned 3,000 cedis and they watched all these reliefs that you qualified for, they will subtract it from what you've earned before the tax that is applicable on your income would be applied. So if you watch it, it would actually come as a relief indeed. When you listen to what he rightly said, some time passed. I mean, when you look in the records, this Ghana book evidence, the highest amount was 4,000. Sorry, 400 Ghana cedis. Now we've moved to 2,000. And that is actually where we're talking about training and self-employment. It's even one item there. I mean, training and self-employment, you know, it qualifies you. It used to be 400 cedis. It now moved all the way to 2,000, the highest, you know, range gap. You know, so when you look at all this, it's very impressive. And I think, like my brother said, it's something, if we gradually do this, while we process ourselves well and move gradually towards getting an entirely sweet and smooth progressive tax system, I think we'll be happier in the end, because we'll actually bridge the gap of inequality. And that's very important. If you talk about a fair world, you talk about a fair world when everybody else is living within the average means. You can be able to afford water, food, shelter, clothes. These are the basic needs. In any system where people have to fall on others to get their clothing, their food, my brother, it's not only demeaning, but it kills the soul. I mean, if you live in a country where after your salary, you cannot even afford to buy food for yourself, buy clothes for yourself, pay your own school fees, you actually feel you are not part of the system. And I mean, for me, I think we should really look at it and place cutoffs within certain. I mean, one of my arguments has been, if we qualify people as rich, I don't think they should actually be fighting for some of these reliefs. You know, so moving forward.
Okay, so I wanted us to address that issue. How do we fix the inequality and fairness, you know, situation?
That's one of the key things in praising the government for this relief. One of the key things going forward I would like to see from the government is that the reliefs are for bridging inequality gap. It shouldn't be given on a wholesale. crucially is the personal relief, which is now 3,828. Everyone qualifies. In other words, no matter the amount of income you earn, you're entitled to that amount before you start paying tax.
Okay.
Here, to me, will be the recommendation. By our definition of who is a rich man in Ghana, which is based on the highest tax band, the higher tax band is 30% on 20,000 Ghana cedi income a month.
Okay.
What that means is that, and to my suggestion, anybody within that, above that bracket, over the 20,000 K bracket and above, shouldn't be getting the reliefs.
Okay.
And the suggestion will be, okay, you can also kind of create a progressive system in there. So if you get 200,000, then any 2 Ghana more, you lose one Ghana relief. Meaning, the moment you cross 247,000 going, your relief is almost becoming zero.
Okay.
So if you get 242, your relief will be, you lose 2,000 relief. I hope you're getting it. You're capping it at 240,
yes,
which is the higher tax band.
Yes.
So any 2 Ghana on top of your salary, you reduce your relief by one Ghana.
I don't understand.
Okay. We want to set a base
Yes.
that the relief should start reducing when you hit that higher tax band.
Okay.
So the recommendation is, as long as you hit that 240, going up, you shouldn't be getting the full relief.
Okay, I get it.
So any 2 Ghana on your salary, you should reduce your relief by 1 Ghana.
Okay.
So if you get 242, which is 2,000 more,
yes,
then your relief should reduce by 1,000.
Okay.
So by the time, because the relief is 3,800, so by the time you cross, say, 280,000, you've exhausted the relief.
Okay.
248,000, you've exhausted the relief.
Okay.
To me, I think that would be fairer, that those on the higher tax band shouldn't. And also, one thing, talking of progressivity, one thing that bothers me a lot is that if you look at the tax brackets, somebody earning 6,400, their marginal tax rate is 10%. For the year, 6,000 for the year, their marginal tax rate is 10%. Now, the same tax bracket, somebody earning 240,000, their marginal tax rate is 25%. That from 6,000 to 240,000 is 36,000%. If you break it down, 37 times more than what somebody is getting in 6,000 bracket. But then look at the tax difference. So to me, I think at the bottom bit, the concentration is too much. The government has done a lot on the relief, but I think going forward, my suggestion would be we need one additional tax band. For incomes above 30,000, I think they can do more with 35. 35 or...
Why do you say so?
Well, and down to the calculation I was making, that somebody, so as it stands, somebody who earns 50,000 a month, their marginal tax rate is 30%.
Okay.
Yeah. And somebody who earns 6,000 a year, a year, 6,000 a year, 6 million.
No,
16 million. Okay, a year. A year will have a marginal tax rate of 10%. So the 30,000 is a month, but somebody earning that a year will have 10%. So where is the progressivity? In other words, those at the bottom pay more, far more taxes than those at the top. Remember, mid-year 2018, government introduced 35% on income above 10,000.
Yes.
Which to me wasn't right, because that was too much. We all made the noise, it was removed to 20,000, but now reduced from 35 to 30. Fine, we can leave it there. But I think we need a new bracket of a further higher incomes above, say, 35,000, 30,000. We need to introduce an additional tax band so that at least it bridges the inequality gap a bit. But if you look at the scenario of 6,000 paying 10% as a marginal tax, and then somebody 30,000 or even up to 50,000 a month, still paying 25% as a marginal tax. I think we can do more. We can do more. And I think that.
Okay. Any final thoughts on
my few recommendations for both government and the taxpayers. For government, I think, like my brother said, proper targeting is very important. Let's properly target those who really need these reliefs. And then by so doing, I think we should do a drastic reduction of the reliefs for rich people and gradually move towards totally taking it away from them. I mean, because I think they don't really need it. I mean, also let's place cut-off points, you know. While we are doing this, we should also look at simplifying the processes. That's government. We should look at simplifying this process of applying for this reliefs, and also application process should be accelerated. The response to it, I mean, if I apply, it shouldn't take, you know, months and, I mean, a longer period. I mean, this is actually going to aggravate situations for us. And then to the side of those who are the taxpayer, those who are applying for these reliefs, I think they should keep proper books. You know, they should keep proper books and records. Evidence should be available. And then also they should actually be able to honor their tax obligation of going further to actually go to the office where you have to retire these books. I mean, you don't sit back and think that they will come to you and grant you all these reliefs. Fill the forms and also apply honestly. I mean, be honest with some of the information you are providing. Some of these people come back when we applied. I mean, when you apply and you put 3 children, and then later go to the office and say, oh, you know, you've actually not been fair to the system. So automatically you have problems. If you go with false information, have these problems, don't come back and tell us this is the reasons why. I know all we are doing is actually in favor of tax compliance. And when compliance hits its highest levels, we would have to be relying on something we call our own resources we've actually been able to generate. And that would lead us to that promised land of Ghana beyond aid. But once again, before we leave these studios, I'm still saying a lot of education must be done, tax education must be done. We can't lose a human life because someone went to collect taxes. I'm not blaming the collectors, I'm not blaming the taxpayer. I'm saying if we do the education properly and improve on the collection processes, and even at the last point where there is what the Chima, you know, where there is confusion, where there is I mean, we should come to that table where we can understand that there should be a judge, and after that fails, look, the punitive measures should have a human face. It should be customer-centered. We should forget about this buga-buga approach. And then also, if there is a proper appeal system, people will not lose trust in the system such that they want to go and stand in front of a tax vehicle and be run over. I think it is a shame. It is actually a shame, and we should have to ourselves to blame for not doing proper education and allowing systems to work.
Quick thought. Can we ever bridge the inequality gap?
Well, that's why I'm here. And that's what Oxfam stands for. The Oxfam fundamental belief is we won't live with poverty. And we won't live with a widening inequality. So we can't bridge it because even among the equals, some are more equal than others. But we can get somewhere closer. And I think the government step is really important. I really applaud them. Moving from 100 in the case of the age dependence to 1,000. I think this is an excellent initiative. We can do more. Going forward, I think the government should be more listening like they have done. As I said, the upper band, something has to be done about it. The lower band, they should consider...
Look, have you considered the breakdown of the poverty? You know, when you come into the English, we have hardship, we have poverty, we have extreme poverty. So when we are classifying, let's classify well so that everybody will know their level.
We'll continue another time.
Yes. So when you come to Accra, you see most of the people in hardship, you know. When you move somewhere to Bongo, where we did some research, I mean, you find people just
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Let's work to eradicate that one.
Ocansey and to Dr. Alex Ampaabeng for that conversation and that enlightenment on what reliefs we do have available to make sure that we can push up our income levels a little bit more.
Hi, I hope you enjoyed the show. Do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share with your friends. This is Breakfast Daily on Citi TV.
Join the Breakfast Daily team Monday through Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10. Join us for breakfast daily, only on Citi TV.